Hi, Dr. Dan Plews here on the Greg Bennett Show. And in 2024, we have a EndureIQ training camp held in Tucson, 18th to the 23rd of April. If you're interested, do check it out via the EndureIQ website. And yeah, let's get into the show.
Welcome to the Greg Bennett Show. I'm your host, Greg Bennett, and this was an outstanding conversation with a good mate of mine, Dr. Dan Plews. Dan's been on the show several times, and it's been a good year, though, since we've had him on. And this past year, wow, he's gone out and absolutely crushed a couple of Ironmans, including Challenge Roth, where he went an 8:18, and then backed it up with a 7:56 at Ironman California. Absolutely outstanding performances, and we dissect those races a little bit, and we also have some strong opinions on different things in the sport. So if you love the sport of triathlon, endurance sports as a whole, you don't want to miss this episode. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. And remember, success comes to those who endure just one moment longer. Speaking of success, have you ever tried fast food? It's a high-performance fuel made from 100% real food. No more bloated feelings or crashes. With their unique optimal energy release system, you get consistent energy. Dive into their Galacto Gel, Galacto Gummy, or the Hydrator and taste the real difference. Give them a go and let me know what you think. You can write me on any of the social platforms. I'd love your feedback. You're out there training hard and racing, and I want to know how you feel on fast food. And remember, your mission is fast food's mission, so don't miss out. Right, well, today's guest, he's a regular on the show. He's one of the world's leading sports physiologists and coaches. And normally, we're either discussing his work on heart rate variability, heat acclimatisation, low-carb fueling, or his athletes winning major events like the Olympic Games or the America's Cup or Kona Ironman World Title. And sure, we'll touch on some of that today for sure. But the main reason I have this man back on the show is to celebrate his extraordinary performance at the Ironman California event, where he smashed the 8-hour mark with a jaw-dropping 7-hour, 56 minutes. Unbelievable. Dominating the age group competition. And wow, as he stirred up some conversations around the triathlon world. Oh man, it's been fun to watch. On top of all that, he's the brain behind EndureIQ, where he turns science into just actionable training programs. And let's be honest, every time he speaks, the triathlon world perks up. So it's great to have him back on the show. He's one of my all-time favorites. So, mate, welcome. And thanks for joining me on the Greg Bennett Show. Once again, Dr. Dan Plews. How are you, mate?
Yeah, really good. Thanks. Good to be back, Greg. It's been quite some time, actually.
Yeah, it's been a good year. But nice. It's been a good year, but you've been busy. You've been really busy.
Yeah. It's been a good year. I mean, I think the year's been full of ups and downs, to be honest. But it's been. I mean, you got to take the rough with the smooth, right? And it's been. I mean, I wouldn't turn back any clocks or anything. It's been a good year for sure.
Yeah, mate. So, but you're back home now. You're in New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand. You just got home from traveling. You went to Hawaii and then back to California, and then you're finally back home.
Yeah, so we were away for 3 weeks, and I took my family with me actually, and we had we only had a weekend in Kona really, so we went there just for the race pretty much. We got there on the Thursday, left on the Monday, and then we were in California for a week before the race, had the race, and then the best part though was actually the Tuesday after the race, we went to Disneyland, which was pretty special.
Yeah, because how old are your kids?
That was definitely a big highlight, and the kids totally loved it, and,
did they?
As did the parents.
Yeah, it's worth doing, wasn't it?
I'm a bit of a Marvel superhero buff, so the Marvel area, I was just like fizzing.
Oh, that's awesome. We did that. We took our kids on a Disney cruise, and it was a Marvel themed Disney cruise. I got to tell you though, the people watching on a Marvel Disney cruise, the amount of adults, maybe you're one of them, dressed up in all the different action heroes?
No, I can't say I took a costume with me and got dressed up, but there was a lot of it because it was around Halloween, right? And Australia, New Zealand, Halloween's a thing, but it's not really a big thing. And like everybody was, because it was around that time, everybody was dressed up. It was so many people, dressed up in some sort of costume around the Halloween. And it's just so bizarre that it's such a major event. Like literally all of Disney had a Halloween theme.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Huge. I got to say, the Americans won't like me saying this, but I said to Laura, I said, Halloween's probably my least favorite holiday. And she was like, well, no, it's all part of, getting the dress up and everything. And I said, yeah, no, next year I think we'll go away during Halloween time. Talk about a Debbie Downer, right? I'm sorry, everybody. I'm the Grinch of Halloween.
Yeah, but it's just not, it's just not a thing. I have to say it's more celebrated here than it is even in England. Like in England, it's less of a thing. But
no, I know.
But,
oh, mate,
it was really good. It was a great finish to a good few weeks, and got back on Monday, and it's now Friday. So
oh mate, I'm pleased for you because your kids are the same as mine, right? You got about a 6 and a 4-year-old, right?
6
girl,
and a
boy.
4-year-old, yeah.
One of these days we'll get them together and we can hang out. We'll do a Disney cruise or just do Disney or whatever, and let them run wild.
We're gonna go to Maine, aren't we, and see Ed? So
that's right. Ed has invited us up to Maine. Ed, are you listening, mate? We're all planning our next summer vacations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now we've mentioned it on the podcast. It has to happen.
And now it has to happen. Actually, let me pin this down in the notes so I can tell him to go listen to minute 4 of the podcast. And so we can well, mate, it is great to have you back on, and huge congrats for what's really been a remarkable year. What started off earlier in the year with 8:18 in Roth. And I didn't even think I think we'd spoken not long before that offline, and you'd had an Achilles injury and everything else. I don't even think you were going to race. And then you pulled out an all-time, performance of 8:18 in Roth. That was amazing, mate.
Yeah. It was, I was just happy to get to the start line of that one, to be honest. It was, I don't know. I thought it wasn't going to happen. And it was really, really strange in that, it just suddenly a week before it went from literally not being able to run 600 meters to just suddenly going.
Wow.
And
you don't know why. You don't know why, because I think a lot of us have Achilles injuries. We'd love to know the why.
It was a paratendon issue. I actually ended up, because I was so desperate, like because I was in Switzerland, Jan sorted me out.
Jan van Berkel. Yeah,
Jan van Berkel. Yeah, and I got a hyaluronic acid injection into the paratendon, and whether that were, I was so desperate, and like I was talking to my mate Brad Beer about it, and he's like, "Yeah, it's pretty. It's probably not going to do much. There's not much evidence around it." But I was like, well, I'm going to try anything. So whether that worked, but it didn't. It only came out like a week later, so whether it took a while to get effect or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, like I say, I started running. I did my first run back the Saturday before the race on the Sunday, so a week before, basically.
Yeah, and how long had you had off before that? When you say first run,
nearly 3 weeks. It was nearly 3 weeks.
Oh, not too bad then. That's a lot, but it's not end of world.
Yeah, there was nearly 3 weeks of literally zero running as well. Not. I couldn't take a step. I tried a few times, but as anyone knows, Achilles tendonitis you can kind of run through, but with that I couldn't do anything. And but the main thing was because I was still biking and swimming quite a lot. I was trying to keep a hope. I was quite fit, and the issue was when I started running again, the muscle soreness in my legs was just so bad. I ran like an hour and a half, and that was on the Saturday, and my the week before the race, and my legs were just so sore, and it took me all week to kind of get rid of the muscle soreness.
Oh, great! Wow.
And I started the race with a level of muscle soreness in there, and inevitably the swim went okay. The swim went okay. The bike went okay. But then 15K to go on the run, my legs just totally exploded.
Oh, brutal.
My quads were really, really exploded. And I ran through it, but I've never experienced muscle soreness like that that I did, it was really, literally, I could not walk the next day.
Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting? Like you have your engine, your heart and lungs are fit as all hell because you're swimming and biking and doing whatever else you can. But that specific work for the chassis, when you don't do that specific work and you're having to turn all those muscle fibers back on because they've gone to sleep for 3 weeks. They're like,
The specific conditioning is a real thing to consider for that.
But you were happy with it, right? I mean, you did well.
Yeah, I said at the time, like, I wasn't happy really because I wasn't happy that I knew I had much more in me. I knew that it wasn't good. I knew that I wasn't happy with the
I get it
with the build up, right? I was like, but I was happy with what I did on the day because I knew that I couldn't do any more than that. That's basically what I had, and I think it was a good performance considering, and I was really happy with that. So, and that's inevitably what made me decide to do Ironman California. To give a bit of background, like after 2018 in Kona, I kind of made the decision. I thought, that's it for me. I don't think I want to really do any more racing. I think I'll just focus on the business and university stuff and my students and
raising a family, raising a family, and all of the above. And then so I haven't really raced. I did one race in 2020, Ironman 70.3 Taupo. And I literally just did a little bit of training before it, and I did that race because my dad was going to race too, and we talked about. My dad was like, he wanted to do Ironman. It was a year of when the World 70.3 Champs was supposed to be in New Zealand, yes,
right?
2021, right? Or
So my dad had already qualified for that race, and obviously in New Zealand, my dad was like, it'd be nice if we could just do that together. So I did that race just to get a slot because I thought, I may as well do that with my dad when he's there. But inevitably that never happened because of COVID and the whole thing got cancelled, and that race is
New
now
Zealand totally shut down to the entire world.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that race is now it's the World Championships next year, right? So, but apart from that, I've done no racing at all. And then when I turned 40 last year, like we discussed, I had this desire to actually kind of get a little bit more out and do a fast time because I've never really done that. I'd done Taupo, I'd done Kona. They were the only Ironmans I've ever done in my life. And that's what I wanted. And I kind of said, I think I would regret not trying to do a fast Ironman time whilst I still can. And, like I read this book called Die with Zero, and it's all about like choosing when you want to do certain things in your life because you can. So, if I want to go down one of my big goals in life or things that I want to do on my bucket list is to go down, do a Nile cruise, for example. I can do that when I'm 70, but if I want to go and do a fast time in an Ironman, then it's now.
You got now. You got now.
It's going to be in 5 years' time. So I talked to Kate about it, and I said, for 1 year we'll just do, I'll have a crack and I'll just try and pick a fast course and do a fast time. And Roth was that course, but it didn't really turn out that well. So I started off the year and I did the Ironman here in New Zealand, and like that was my first race, my first Ironman since 2018.
How'd you go there?
I went 8:50. So not very good. I still won it, but
I think you'll be fine. Most people listening to this show, be anything sub 9 is phenomenal. But I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. I mean, I've done 8:35 on that course,
right.
As a comparison. So
yeah,
so you can imagine by this point thinking, maybe I've lost it.
Yeah. I'm over the hill.
Maybe that's it. So then I did the 70.3 race in Taupo in March, and that went quite a lot better, and I did a pretty quick time there.
What you do?
With that.
What was it?
I think I went 4:04.
Yeah.
Which on that course is pretty. That's pretty solid on that course.
Yeah.
If you're getting close to 4 on that course,
it's a good one. Yeah.
You're going pretty solid. And it's I think the run's closer to 22K than 21K as well.
And those roads, the New Zealand roads, I can't imagine.
Yeah,
they're not
New Zealand
fast.
roads are not the best.
Yeah.
So that went better. Then, and obviously then built up to doing Roth. And then Roth didn't go that well. And I'd always planned to kind of finish and stop after Roth, but I think Kate could see that I wasn't really fulfilled.
He's still not going to be present at home if I did.
Yeah, she's like, you should think about, you should consider, what's 3 months in the grand scheme of things. You should consider doing a different race.
Awesome.
So I eyed up California and I eyed up Ironman Florida as the two options.
Yeah.
And California had all the recipes for being a very fast course.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm the first to admit that the downstream swim helped, and that was the main reason I went under 8 hours. Of course,
but you can only race the race, because who knows if there'd have been say you'd done a 50-minute swim and the transitions weren't mega long, because I know that one's got mega long transitions, and who's to say then you couldn't have found even a little bit more somewhere else? Like, I don't know. It's take it forward. It is.
But I mean, I'm not kidding myself. I know that was a massive part of it.
Yeah.
And also the run was quite. It was 42. I recorded 42.6.
Yeah.
Some of the athletes that I coached recorded a 42.7 and a 42.8.
Yeah.
So the run was a little bit long as well, which, that's a couple of minutes there. Perhaps.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, so Ironman California looked like it was the one to do. And I was praying for good conditions, and we got not really that. It absolutely poured on the run, like seriously, like you would not believe.
Oh, torrential, huh? Shit. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Really, really crazy.
Yeah.
I had a picture of me running, and it looks like I'm running for a river.
Let's do this. Because I want to know more about Ironman California. I want to dissect that a little bit. Challenge Roth. You went an 8:18. It was Magnus Ditlev went a 7:24 for perspective. That was insane. Patrick Lang,
insane, yeah. And this is the thing is, like, people talk about Roth as a fast course, which it is a fast course, but it's also 3K short on the bike and 1K short on the run.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's not accurate. I mean, look, at the end of the day, when we talk records and times, you can just race the people and race the course at the end of the day. And triathlon, it's not about so much the times and the records as it is trying to just win the race and get the most out of yourself, right?
Yeah, or do a fast. I mean, for me, it's to do a fast time. It's like there's quite a lot of stir around age group and the times and what's an age group. But for me, I do not give two hoots about age group or whatever it is. I mean, and if you
do it for you.
Exactly. And if you look at my social media and whatever I've said, I've never once have I said age group record or said best age group time of all ever. I've never said that myself. Other people have said that, but I haven't said it because to me, it's not a thing. It's not important to me. All I wanted to do was a fast time for myself and no one else.
Yeah.
And
well, you certainly did a fast time, and you certainly made the whole triathlon community perk up. We'll get into that in a little bit. Whether you wanted to or not, it happened. But you come on the back of an 8:18 in Roth. You have had the fastest age group time at Kona. Is it still the fastest? You're 8:24?
Yeah, it's still the fastest.
Did Lucy Charles Barclay just beat your time by a couple of seconds?
4 seconds.
4 seconds?
4 seconds, yeah.
There we go. I had Lucy on the show last week, and she went an 8:24.31. So you did an 8:24.35?
34. So it's 3 seconds.
3 seconds then. Well, there you go. You got chick.
You know what though? Like, Lucy ran on the left side of the road. I had to run on the right side of the road. So I had to run a little bit further up Palani and round that.
The scoreboard shows only one result, mate. We don't want to hear it. Nobody listening wants to hear your excuses.
Okay, that's fair.
Lucy's performance, oh my goodness. Wasn't that something though? It really
it blew my mind.
One for the ages.
Like literally jaw-dropping stuff.
Jaw-dropping. Her 70.3 win when she did that at St. George, I think was one of the most outstanding performances I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Where she did the fastest swim, bike and run there, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember.
And then this Kona performance of an 8:24 in Kona, 3 seconds quicker than Dr. Dan Plews.
No, it's amazing.
We should have talked about that on the episode. I think I missed that. But anyway, you know,
I don't think she would have cared.
No.
She'd go, damn Plews, who's that?
She was quite funny though. I can't remember if we said it in the episode or after. I can never remember with these conversations. But she basically said, you know, I was running thinking, if I screw this up, I have to wait another 2 years. And we'll talk about, you know, Kona versus Nice and everything, but she really wanted to win in Kona, and that really put fuel in her belly. So that was really cool. It was a fun conversation. For anybody listening to this that hasn't listened to that one, go back and listen to Lucy. She was awesome. But mate, let's fast forward. So you go to Ironman California. Kate, your wife, who's just the most amazing person ever. I've never met her in person, but by the sound of the way you talk about her and the way she backs you and empowers you to be your best man and go about living your true life, I think is really cool. So big shout out to Kate. But then you go to California. What was your sort of your final phase, your taper like? You had no injuries leading into that race?
No, I had a really good running physically. So I actually wasn't going to go to Kona to watch Chelsea's
of course,
race.
Yeah.
So I wasn't originally going to go there. I'd gone there on a training camp with her in September, and that training camp had gone like so well, like crazy well. And to the point of where I got home and I said to Kate that she's going to win Kona, and there's no doubt in my mind. I'm going to book a ticket because I don't want to miss out. So I booked the whole family to go to Kona as a result.
That's a cheap little just stopover on the way.
Yeah, exactly. So, but there was no choice in the matter because I just knew that I'd really regret it if I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Accommodation was sorted, thankfully, because Chelsea had sorted that out. But
okay.
But yeah, but then 2 weeks out, like Chelsea started getting a bit of a knee niggle, which inevitably was what caused her a bit of upset. I mean, I'm not making excuses for
it is what it is.
Like
yeah, it is what it is.
But it did affect her cycling on race day, which is it's obvious from the result because that's not her level of cycling. So the result wasn't what we intended to go for. But it was, I think for everyone, me, Chelsea, Steve, her husband, that was quite a stressful 2-week period, and it was quite a stressful period in Kona as well. So that side of it wasn't the most ideal, but in hindsight, I was so pleased I went there and was there for Chelsea during that period because I think it really helped her.
She had a great fight, mate. I'm going to tell you, you could tell something wasn't right. Like you said, the bike time, that's not Chelsea. But she still fought all the way up to a 6th place. And if you look at that top 6, it really is the most powerful women in the world. That just
exactly. There's not one person in front of her who's like, oh yeah, that's it. What are they doing in front of me? They're all amazing women who are just like the highest caliber of athletes. So you can't. And I was honestly, I was so proud of what she did on that day. I think and I said to her after the race, she won the year before, but what she did on race day that year was so much harder and so much more impressive physically, but more mentally. It's easy to run well when you're at the front,
and your body's feeling good and everything, no injuries, and it feels fantastic.
But when you imagine being the defending champion, coming off the bike 20 minutes down, everyone's looking at you, then you have to literally will yourself and pull yourself out of that negative, the negative spiral of mindset to pull yourself back into a almost a podium position, which considered top 5 podium in Ironman, right? So
what was her run split in the end? She ran
2:53 with a toilet stop.
Okay, with a toilet stop. If only we could take those out.
I
know. It's impressive running. I mean, and Annie Hugg's 2:48. The women, getting fast, man. It's getting real fast. Really fast. Yeah. It's absolutely unbelievable.
I mean, a man running a 2:48 would be running onto the podium, in the early 2000s,
10 years ago, mate, 10, 15 years ago. I remember when Rinny went a 250 or whatever, and she was the third fastest marathon of the day, or was it third or fourth?
Yeah, well, I remember when I ran a 250 there, I was the fifth fastest marathon in the whole race.
There you go. So, and you had to run on the wrong side of the road.
And I had to run on the other. Yeah, well, everyone was doing it that day, Greg.
We'll bring that up throughout this talk. Yeah, gee whiz. Well, mate, tell me a little bit more about let's you've gone to Kona then, supported Chelsea, and Ironman California is the following Sunday. What day of the week?
Yeah, it's the following Sunday.
Okay, so you had a couple of days to get over and get.
Yeah, so we flew out on the Monday, and then we got straight into it. I mean, I actually did a bit of a different build. I actually did a reasonably big session on the Tuesday. Just because I hadn't really done much over the weekend in Kona, so I did like a 2-hour ride, and then it was certainly more than 2 hours with some intervals, and a 10K run off with starting quite fast, like starting at 320s and going down to 350s.
Wow,
which is it's quite a lot on a Tuesday before a big Ironman, and then the next day I rode for nearly 2.5 hours and did a swim. So I purposely did a bigger 2 days because I felt I needed it. I almost felt I was too fresh too early, because that's the art to tapering, right? Is that you can do too much and you can do too little, I did a little bit.
Are you looking at HRV and heart rate and everything to kind of, or are you just going off feel? Are you looking at
that was mostly off feel. My HRV was good. It was on point. I mean, it had dropped. It had gone down during the Kona weekend.
Yeah, it's quite stressful.
Yeah, and also I think it was a lack of training. So that did give me an indication that I needed to do something to boost it up a little bit. Interesting. I always find that I respond to a little bit more volume, and you want to, with HRV, you want it to come down towards the race, and I was already quite normal, so I wanted to be a little bit higher, which I managed to bump
Interesting. Up.
Yeah. So and then I just went. And then I went straight into the race, really. It was my birthday so I turned 41 on the Friday.
Okay. So it's a nice little birthday gift to yourself. Go smash yourself an Ironman.
Yeah. So on the Friday, but funny enough, my birthday was so stressful because I had all these bike problems, and I was trying to get some things fitted and I couldn't get it done. No one would help me. And
what was up? Because I can't tell you. These are the kind of thing that dreams are made, nightmares are made out, aren't they? You kind of what was going on?
It was. I was trying to get an oversized pulley put on, and no one could. Everyone was kind of like too busy, couldn't fit it, and I ran from pillar to post trying to. But it's just one of those things that's like you're running around trying.
One of those big ceramic speed, or what, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Now. Yeah, one of the big pulleys. I get
it was just a little bit stressful.
Yeah, no, I get it. I find the whole Ironman thing. I didn't enjoy all of that stuff. Having to get all my bags right, put all the right nutrition in. I'm like, one of the things I loved about Olympic distance, I just put, have one bottle on the bike, something with a bit of caffeine in it to get me really juiced up, and boom, go.
Yeah,
done.
Exactly. There's a lot to organize. There really
so
is.
Much.
So much to organize.
Yeah.
So, but then thankfully the Saturday then was quite a smooth day, and it was quite relaxing. And then Friday morning I wasn't, it wasn't really that. I was nervous, but I wasn't massively nervous. I was pretty relaxed about it. I'm always pretty chilled before most races, especially when I know that I was kind of more looking forward to it than anything else. And it's a bit of a weird one because the swim start is upstream, so you swim downstream, which is why the swim times were so fast. So you have to get in, you get your stuff in transition. It's raining as we're in the stuff in transition as well, which is like, all your food's getting wet and everything's like, oh, really? And literally, I kid you not, Greg, the whole time we were in California, we had the best weather every single day, apart from the day of the race.
I don't think it ever rained in California. If only that must be just, but that poor Ironman California, it got cancelled. What was it? 2 years
it got
ago.
cancelled the first year, and the second year, I was talking to some of the people who did it the year before, and they said it was like just super, super windy on the bike. So yeah,
mate. Well, but then you must have been feeling quietly confident that you could pull out a pretty decent performance. Were you? Had the 8 hour kind of crossed your mind? Or was it just go as hard as you can and see what happens?
Yeah, 8 hours had always crossed my mind, to be honest. Yeah. That was always. I mean, I didn't think it was going to happen when I saw the length of the transitions, to be honest, because I knew that it was going to be really tight anyway. If I could do what I needed to do, but and the length of the transitions, I was like, oh, it's not probably going to happen. But then obviously the swim. The down current swim totally changed that one for me.
It brought you back a little bit of time. Thank you very much.
I never expected it to be quite as fast as that. When I got out and he said the time, I was like, oh, that's rather fast.
That's right.
But
that was like, did you ever do the New York Triathlon? Have you done that? And you swim down the Hudson River, and I think it was Bob Babbitt or somebody. They timed a Cheeto packet. And the Cheeto packet did in 17 minutes or whatever. Actually, it might have been quicker because I think it broke the world record at the time. So it must have been 15 minutes or whatever for the Cheeto packet to make it.
Yeah.
And yet most of the field was still going slower than the Cheeto packet that just floated along. It was like, but that swim was often 12 to 13 minutes. You just dive in, go deep as you can and just go flying along the bottom, then pop up. And
it's funny that It's kind of a shame because I'd done 20K of swimming every week. I really worked on my swimming as well, and I was actually swimming really well, and I had a really good swim. I was like, I was not far off the front, and I was behind some, not very far behind some really good swimmers, so I didn't really show it, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah,
I'd really done so much swimming.
We did 36 minutes, mate. That's was it? Averaging 56 seconds per 100 or something?
Yeah, something like that. Something silly. But I also think that I don't know. I feel like the down current swims they don't help the better swimmers as much as they help the poor swimmers.
Oh, of course.
I feel it closes the gap.
Of course it does.
You know what I mean? It just seems to close the gap a lot. I know it's obviously over a shorter time, but it seems to make the not so good swimmers a lot better and the good swimmers better, of course, but there's not as much difference. Just from my own personal observation of knowing people who did the race and seeing some swim times and stuff.
Everybody, yeah. It actually does make sense though, doesn't it? It's like a down current swim, and did you have to go through bridges and, were you dodging things? Because at that speed, you probably got to be careful you don't swim into something.
Yeah, it wasn't like you were a speedboat, but it was. You had to go through. You had to go into bridges and stuff, but it wasn't. Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, I do remember things going by, like going past a buoy. You used to swim past a buoy, and they were going by.
The reason I ask is we did this race, this Paris World Cup in was it 96 or something, and I love actually for the Paris Olympics. We're cleaning up the River Seine and nobody's swum in it for 200 years or whatever. It's like, well, we did in 96, and I remember it was only meant to be a sprint World Cup. It was 750 swim, but because the water was running so fast, they took us 2 kilometers upstream. and
2 kilometers.
The bridges were going like you had to swim head up because we were going so fast.
Yeah,
this brown murky water with dead fish everywhere, and there was, I remember even the dead dog on the side of the river. I was running with Chris McCormack and Jason Meadows in warm up, and we saw this dead dog on the side of the river. We're like, and dead fish. So, mate, it was awful, but. I remember just having to dodge these pylons of the bridges. Yeah, wow. We were moving so fast. Crazy feeling. But anyway, mate, you get out of the swim. You have a decent run to transition. You're in a good position too, right? Was it a staggered start? How did they start you all? Was it one off at a time?
It was one of those age group rolling starts.
Yeah, they're doing that everywhere, right? I'm not a huge fan. I don't love that. But
no, I don't like it either. I mean, New Zealand's the only mass start race left, I think, now.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. He's not like the good old days. But yeah, I mean, I was quite nervous about that because I was worried that I wouldn't get to the front, but I managed to be first on the line, so that was pretty good.
Oh, so you led from start to finish. You didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But why did the time, when I was looking at the clock and you were running to the finish, it had 7:57 or 7:58 or something, and you went at 7:56?
Yeah, because I think because they had some para athletes in before us.
Oh, okay.
They started off just before, and I think that's when that clock started. When they started.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. But mate, you've gone and had a pretty fantastic bike too. I mean, a 423, I think you went. Was that right?
Yeah.
I mean, was that on track? Was that something you?
It's the highest power I've ever averaged for an Ironman.
Yeah, what did you average?
277.
Nice. And how tall and how big are you?
So 185, 73, 74 kilos.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's solid.
Yeah. It's solid. I mean, it's not. I'm no Greg Bennett, but hey.
No, please shut up, mate. I've never come close to any of these Ironman times. I like to stick at the hour 45 events, but no, it really is impressive to be able to hold that. And then to get off the bike, how were you feeling when you got off that bike with such an impressive time?
I felt good on the bike. I mean, I think, as I always say, the trick to a good Ironman is you've got to always feel like you're holding back a little bit. And I was on the first lap. There was there's a guy from a local guy, Everyman Jack, called Sean Mahoney, who was up the road, and he was. Apparently, I know one of the guys that I used to coach was talking to me about him, and he was an ex-collegiate swimmer. He's a swimming background. He got a Pan Games, a gold medalist in the Pan Games in swimming or something. Yeah. So he's obviously a good swimmer. So he was 30 seconds up when I came out of transition, and then I could see him up the road, and I didn't, you don't know who these people are, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll catch him in a minute, and I kind of sat in my own power, and he wasn't really coming back to me, and I was like, He's not coming back. That's interesting. So I just made a decision to kind of to go for it I did like 330 to 340 watts for 8 minutes. And then,
wow.
Just to close the gap. So then I closed it, and I basically caught him just before the turnaround, and then we went. Then I went past him and I said, "Hey, let's do 10 minutes on the front each." Obviously, keeping sharing the workload, obviously still makes a difference at 12 meters, right?
Of course, just the mental relaxation to know somebody else is.
And I think we both appreciated that. But then on the second lap, like on the way out, it got a lot windier. It was much more windy, and then Sean left me on the front for a little bit longer, and I was like, maybe he's struggling a little bit now. So then on the way back, I just put in a little bit of about 40K to go. I put in a little bit of a spurt, and I went up to like 320 watts for a minute or two, and then that was that. Then I was on my own after that. So,
it was nice to have that buddy, though. I like that.
Yeah,
like you guys.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I think it's just a long way, right? So it was. We both really appreciated that. It was nice.
Yeah.
And then I came in. I think I had 2 minutes on the next place coming into the transition, and and then I got into my pace really, and
that's very close. There's a lot of guys that are swimming and biking really well. Like you only had a 2 minute lead. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So I think it was about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then, and there was another guy from Canada who had the fastest bike split of the day, who was with Sean. Can't remember his name, so if he's listening to this, I apologize. But he was really strong. He was really good biker, good swim biker. And then so then I got onto the run, and because Chelsea was actually there watching.
Oh, good on her. She came and watched her coach. I love it. Yeah,
she was awesome. So she was on the bike for bits of it, watching and supporting, which was really, really cool. I was thinking, geez, this is pretty cool having the champ following me. And I went past her and I said, what time do I have to run to break 8 hours? And she said, I'll get back to you. Let me do some maths. So she goes away, does some calculations, and she sees me next, and she says, you got to run a 250. So I was like, all right, okay. So, and then I basically, I got to work, and I had this, I always knew I wanted to hold back until about 10K to go. And then if I had anything less than the last 10K, I would give it a good nudge. So I ran, and I was trying to run 355s. I held it pretty well. There was a bit in the middle where I lost it a little bit. I had to stop to go to the toilet once. And I also had to stop to get a stone out of my shoe under my toe, which was killing me. I just couldn't take it anymore.
Oh, yeah. There's always something. There's always something. I don't know anybody who just runs a straight 42K run off the bike.
Yeah,
There's always something. Yeah.
So I had to stop a couple of times, which slowed it down. And the rain got really slippy underfoot, particularly when you had to run under some bridges.
Yep.
When it was, and like the paths were flooded, and yeah, so that wasn't ideal. But yeah, I got to thankfully the last 10K it stopped raining as well, and then got to 10K to go, and I said, right, I'm just gonna go for it here. So I stepped on it. I mean, I remember I ran a 3:46 for one of the, like, about
nice, right on 6 minute mile pace for our American friends. Is it 3:45?
Yeah. So you know, in the last 10K, which is pretty good. My last 10K was my fastest 10K.
Well done. So, well, you held them all around that 39 minute, right? You know, that was
exactly.
39 to 40.
Yeah, exactly. My last one was 39:05, which was a little bit quicker.
Nice. And a 2:48 marathon.
Yeah, exactly. But the actual 42.2 was I think it was a 2:46, 56.
That's awesome. I never know with these, the Garmins or whatever you're doing for measuring. It's like I always used to race the Beta Breakers in San Francisco. Yeah. Really cool. I think it's 7 miles or 12K, whatever it is, and. I remember knowing, if I wanted to run sub 3 minute K pace, it was kind of my goal, break 36 minutes kind of thing or whatever. And I remember running down towards the beach and then turning left and hopping onto the final sprint and hearing my watch go beep. I was like, what? It's 12K already? And because I still had another, 200 meters or whatever, 100 meters to the finish. And I never knew if it was, you know more, you're in this space, but how accurate are they?
They're pretty accurate now, the GPSs in watches, especially when you have multiple people all reading all reading along as well. Yeah, but it's interesting. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, you would have seen it go 42.2. So what did you run the 42.2 in for everybody listening? It was 2:46.56.
Oh, that sounds so much better than 2:48. That
sounds so much faster, doesn't it? I know.
It's like 2:48.48 means you've slipped over the 4 minute Ks. Kind of feel like it's like, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's still right.
It's not. It's still under. Yeah, it's still under. It's
Greg, give me it, you bastard! I had to do it. Well, mate, I huge congrats. What was it like, sort of running down the finishing line? I saw you did the whole Jan Frodeno yell at the cameras, hold the tape thing. Was that planned? What were you thinking as you ran down?
It just came out. Maybe I just seen Jan do it too many times. That was my natural reaction.
But was the crowd good, and was it a great feeling? Everything else?
It was really good. I mean, it's a great event for anyone who's considering an Ironman. Obviously, it's definitely a good time to get a good course to get a fast time, but it's a great event. And one of the highlights for me was so you run along the river for the first part, most of the race, but then when but the last bit they move you into the city and you run through the city, downtown Sacramento for the very last bit, and then you finish in front of the in front of one of the parliament or whatever, the buildings,
town hall or whatever it is,
town hall, something like that, which is pretty cool. And they've closed the roads in Sacramento. It's a Sunday, and I'm running down the middle of downtown Sacramento, no one around, on my own. I had Aaron, one of my assistant coaches at EndureIQ, and Chelsea on the bikes, just like teetering behind, and two police escorts either side of me, and I'm running through the town center, and I thought, wow, this is pretty freaking cool. This is a once in a lifetime thing that's going to happen, and
I'm happy.
I really remember it.
That's really great. I know the feeling, and just to have that moment is super special. I'm looking at the photo of you right now, of you holding the finishing tape and screaming at us, and it looks very Jan Frodeno-esque.
I was wearing his socks, so I thought it was only appropriate.
I love it, mate. And so since doing such a spectacular time, were you ready for the reaction from the triathlon world? There's been a lot of talk whether you're prepared to go to slow twitch or listen to the fanfare. Were you surprised at the reaction?
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised. I mean, I feel. I mean, I don't really go on slow twitch. I don't really go. It's a bit of a gossip column, right?
Yeah.
But I got forwarded it from one of the athletes that I coach, and he said, "You might want to read this and make a comment." I was like, "There's no way I'm going to make a comment." Yeah, right. I have better things to do with my time.
Yeah,
but I mean, it does surprise me, particularly as that's going to be my last race, right? I'm not racing again anymore, and particularly around some of the comments of me being a pro and the assumptions of people know your life when they, no one really knows your life really, apart from the people who you live with and that are close to you, and I mean, I work for a university. I work for the Olympic program. I have my own business.
Mate, listen, everybody go back and to listen to all the podcasts we've done over the last, 4 years together. It's very rarely been about you. Our conversations have always been about, okay, the America's Cup crew or Chelsea Sodaro or working with Javier Gomez or Terenzo Bozzoni and what should we do for sauna and ice bath? It's always been very much we're looking at sports physiology and the work you're doing.
I almost sarcastically put up. I mean, I was looking at my publications from 2023, which has been quite a lot of publications we've had. I almost put it up on Instagram and I just put them all in one page. And I was going to say in 2023, I took a bit of time off from my professional triathlon career to write these publications.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's just it. I mean, at the end of the day, the debate starts to becoming, well, what's a pro? And, you've raced some pros. You went to Challenge Roth and you saw some of the best in the world do what they need to get done to win. There's still quite a gap. From your performances are outstanding as they are for someone with 2 kids, running a full-time business, working for a university, blah, 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 coaching a whole bunch of athletes, to Magnus Ditlev laying down a 7:24. And don't get me wrong, there's probably some B and C grade pros that, could race age group and blah, blah, blah. But if we're talking about racing the best in the world, the professionals it's still quite a leap. It's still a bit of a leap, I
mean, it's a massive leap. In fact, it's like it's absolutely huge. I mean, I would have come away from Roth with, if I'd have raced professionally at Roth, for example, I'd have come away with zero money, zero.
Yes.
But, well, and don't forget, let's just take. It's not called an elite race. It's called a professional race. And where does that word professional come from? It comes from the word profession.
Yes.
It's your profession to do racing, and this is how you make all your money. And I have a mortgage, I have kids. It is irresponsible of me to think that I'm going to be, full time. And of course, there's probably a lot of people who there's a lot of professionals who have to work at the same time. But I think if I'd continued to race age group since Kona 2018 and clean up, it would be a different story.
Yeah, it's time to actually go step up and give the professional.
It's a different story. But right. I haven't raced at all since 2018, and the first race I did was an 850. 25 minutes slower than I had done in 2018. So why and then why would I turn professional for theoretically one race?
No, it was a funny way that the triathlon community took it. I took it as simply, you go, mate. Well, you're a mate of mine anyway. I also know that you're somebody that is well versed in the conversation of how to prepare for an Ironman. At the end of the day, if you look at your talent pool that you've worked with, Jan van Berkel, what you did with Jan, who I've got on the podcast coming up in a few weeks, actually, it'd be great.
That's great. Yeah.
But Jan had some talent, but what he was able to do through, I think he worked with you almost 10 years, didn't he? And in the way that you worked on his metabolism, and then you worked on his ability to run a marathon, and it's like how to make things happen. And what I'd be saying to anybody that's amazed at what Dan Plews was able to put together, get onto EndureIQ and learn a little bit about what you're actually doing. If you want to get better, and look, don't get me wrong, I think you do have some natural ability. Geez, it's like you've loved the sport for a long time. It's like when I go for a run with Ed Baker. It's like Ed, my mate, my business partner at Any Question. He phenomenal athlete. Phenomenal. I often say to him, you could have been a professional triathlete instead of, heading up, being the head of international growth for Facebook and then heading up Uber and everything. You could have been a professional triathlete. He's like, I think I made the right decision. I say, yes, you did. But that's just it. There are some exceptional people out there that are still work elsewhere and then love the sport of triathlon. Like, where are you meant to go? If you love the sport of triathlon and you want to do a race, where's Dan Plews meant to go?
Well, now I'm at the position where I actually have nowhere to go, which, that's not the reason I'm not doing it anymore, but, that is kind of part of it.
Time for you to bulk up, mate. Put on some muscle.
Well, that's exactly what I'm doing, actually. I've already begun the process. Yeah. So yeah, and I'm actually really enjoying it.
Yeah. Me too.
I know for a fact that there's, I coach a lot of age groupers who I'm the first to admit that I'm quite flexible in my time. I can. It's not like I have to be in an office from 9 till 5.
No,
but I do have a lot of work to do. But the good thing is I can do that work as and when I want it.
Yeah, you're running your own business. You're running your life.
I'm not the only age grouper in the world to have that level of flexibility. And and I know a lot of. I coach a lot of these age groupers who do just as much training, if not more training than I do. Right, but the difference is that when I had the spotlight put on me for it. So.
Yeah, but I think you also did it with intent. And that's a word that I love to throw around because Laura and I always say, you can go out training and prepare for a race, blah, blah, blah. And it's that intentional behavior. You went and knowing with Kate by your side saying, look, just turned 40. I've read this book, Die with Zero. I'm going to give this one really good crack. And you gave Roth a crack, but your build up sucked. So then okay. One more crack and then I'm done. Exactly. And it was like when you live life like that and you do it with such intent, it's amazing what can happen than if you're just ticking boxes and go, well, I got next year and I'll do better next year. It's like, no.
This was literally all or nothing.
Yeah,
right?
That's why I love
this
that.
Was it. There wasn't going to be another year of this. That was it. So, it was,
mate, you've also stirred up a bit with, the low carb approach. When I say the approach, most of our conversations we've actually talked probably more about, HRV and hot cold therapy, to be honest. But every now and then, we've talked about low carb. I think you've written some things on that and how to approach it. And I think we've even talked about, there's phases throughout your life and your career where you might be more low carb, you might be more high carb, blah, 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 blah. But I think the one that really got everybody, their panties in a twist a little bit was saying you only had one gel on the run.
Which I didn't actually say, by the way.
Well,
that's a small segment that everybody picked up on. I said I had one gel on the run and then just the aid from the aid stations.
Right. So you carried one of your own, but there was tons of other stuff you were taking, right?
No. So I didn't take anything. I didn't take any gels of my own. I took one gel, but then I drank the fluids at the aid stations.
Right. So you were still getting plenty of carbohydrates.
I was still getting stuff in, of course.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was. I still think it was a minimal amount. I mean.
Yes, but you've also been working on your metabolism for years.
And also I was taking 50 to 60 grams an hour on the bike as well.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Anybody that's been around the sport longer knows if you can do most of your fueling on the bike, get off. You don't have, yes, there'll be a deficit on the run. Don't get me wrong. I'm not preaching nobody take anything, but it's less of I need to get everything I need to get in on the run. If you can do such a good job on the bike.
And that's always been the approach I take. I have a fat oxidation up to 1.5 grams a minute. My fat max is at 280 watts. So on the bike, I'm burning predominantly fats as a fuel, even at 280 watts.
Wow.
So I'm like, literally, if I'm taking 60 grams per hour or 50 to 60 grams per hour, then I'm not really deplenishing my endogenous carbohydrates so much. So I'm actually getting onto that run pretty topped up, which allows me then to not really worry about what I need to take on, really. You know, I took on one gel, and who knows, maybe I could have done with less. I didn't feel like I needed it, but I just took it at like around the 15K mark. And then the rest of the time I was just grabbing fluids. And the main reason I was grabbing fluids was more from a hydration standpoint. And you know what it's like, you know, you're running at 355, 350 minute K pace, running through an aid station.
Oh yeah.
You grab
cups are going everywhere.
Cups are going everywhere. You grab a cup, it's got like a thimble of Coke or something at the bottom.
Yeah.
Half the time. And honestly, I was getting to all these aid stations first. And on many occasions,
they're not even ready for you, right? They're not even ready for you. Do you ever have that?
They were ready for me because they were filming me with their phones. And they're all stood there holding their phones, filming me and not holding out any fluids. And I missed a lot of them.
I remember racing. Which one was it? I can't remember. I won't point out the name because it's not fair. But I remember running through, and every aid station was still setting up, and having somebody, you know, one of the volunteers running after me with a 2-liter bottle of Coke. You know, here, have this. I'm like, trying to drink it as I'm running past.
And also like I needed the toilet so much at the start of the run that I couldn't bear to drink anything. You know, how you need the toilet so much.
Yeah.
And I was hoping it was going to go, but it didn't go in the end, and I had to stop.
So look, with this metabolizing that you've been working on, and if somebody was to work with you at EndureIQ and you get them tested, how is it very individual at how long somebody can become a little bit more, you know, fat adaptive? Are some people better at it than others? Like when I feel like you've been labeled the low carb guy, and I don't know that that's necessarily accurate. I think it's more about trying to get as efficient you can with the macronutrients that you as an individual need. But what have you seen, you know, that comes across your table of how people are able to adjust the way their metabolism works?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I have been labelled the low carb guy, and it's quite interesting. I mean, I've got 65 publications, and I think like 4 of them are anything to do with nutrition and low carb. But it seems to be the thing that I'm most well known for, and people grab onto. But at the end of the day, it's you know, if you look at the sport of Ironman, it is a position of energy availability. It is a position of preserving your endogenous carbohydrate stores. And, you know, I test people, but I really test people when I coach them to see where they're at and actually see if it's an area that we need to really pay attention to. So like for example, when I started coaching Aaron Royal, he's someone who has a really good fat metabolism naturally. So we've never really even had to consider it. He's also not done an Ironman, so you know we don't really even look at metabolism at all, or think about any type of manipulation. But for some athletes, you know, if you've got a really weak fat metabolism, and particularly if you're intolerant to taking high amounts of carbohydrates, or you don't want to take high amounts of carbohydrates, which I think, you know, you also have to consider from a health perspective, is that you really want to be basically chewing on sugar all the time when you're going out training. It's an important consideration, and you don't have to. I mean, there's so many different approaches you can take. You can do a lower carb approach, like we have the course in LDT 101 and EndureIQ, which is you know, it's basically low carb performance, which is the approach that I take myself personally. You know, it's what I did before Kona. It's what I've done since 2012. Lower carb, not ketogenic. And there's a lot of nuances with the manipulation of how much carbs and when you're taking those carbohydrates, and how that fits around training. Like the devil is definitely in the detail.
There's a lot more education that people need, rather than just grabbing one tiny quote and then running with it. You know, it really is important that individuals educate themselves as much as possible, right? Yeah,
but it's like, it's not, and it's not like, I just don't want people to think that high carb is the answer for everything, because it's just not, you know, and I don't think it's necessarily It's great. It's a great, we're pushing up to 120 grams. Now we're seeing things at 140 grams per hour. And it's, it's great to line the pockets of the sports nutrition industry. Of course, they're saying, oh, I'll take more and more and more. But unfortunately, I'm actually writing a paper at the moment. We're doing a review on carbohydrate intake. 2,000 papers we're going through, Greg, because we really want to get to the bottom of, is there really any evidence for ingesting such high rates? And the reason we're doing it is because the meta-analysis and the research will actually likely show it's not. So we'll see. Watch this space. We're working on that paper.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, mate. I we're seeing performances with some of the top pros that are all, crushing, like you said, well over 100, and then it's working for them, right? But it's I think the discussion comes about, firstly, understanding the individual. Knowing who you are is really important. So go do your testing, and an individual. Go work with Dan, go get some tests done, sign up for EndureIQ and educate yourself, and I think that's all I want to kind of say on the matter, to be honest, because I find it, we, like you said, you'll have somebody preaching, okay, take so much of this and so much of that. It's like, talk to the individual.
And I don't think, we can't compare ourselves to these top elites because by default, their metabolism works differently to the average age groupers.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? They're working at a much higher percentage of their VO2 and they're, tracking. And
also their overall calorie output just in an hour is so much higher because they're doing so much more power or so much, they should. But then also the other side of that, talks about that low carb approach. I do think there's a lot to be said, like for just this. I'm part of S Fuels, and I'm I'm technical advisor for S Fuels, and we have this right fuel, right time approach, which is really, it's getting the most out of your training all the time. So it doesn't mean that when you're doing your long endurance rides, you're having to take like sugary carbs all the time. We've got options for more of a fat-based fuel. And then we have a high carb product for more of your higher intensity work and racing. And this is why I think, for me, like personally with what I've achieved as an age grouper, this approach has really made the difference for me, because when you're dealing with 20 hours of training a week and you want to really perform, you have to manipulate macronutrients to get the most out of every training session.
Yeah. I like that.
And that's what you can do with the right fuel, right time approach, you get so much more bang for your buck with every training session. If you're smart with the way you do it, and it's just generally better for your overall health and well-being anyway. Yeah,
I like that. And then you're looking at your whole season and everything else. I think that's also the approach to have, to be sort of mapping out when you want to be fueling when you want to be fat metabolizing. All of that. Well, mate, I'm conscious of your time. I know Kate needs from 8 o'clock onwards. We've got a couple of minutes left. Javier Gomez, what's going on with him? He's
the captain.
Huh?
Yeah, the captain.
The captain. He's coming back to do a couple of races. What's he?
I spoke to him yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
He's going really good. And honestly, I am over the moon that the man is back. So,
I feel like he's been in the wilderness for a little while.
Oh man, it's been a very tough period of time.
Yeah.
But he's been resilient, and we've both, we've surged through, and he's had a couple of local races. So, and he is. He'll hopefully, we can keep him injury free, and we're working on a few things to make sure that is the case. And he's going to be back. He's back racing, and he's doing Muscle Bay, the Ironman in South Africa in a couple of weeks. So he's got this week. He's had a big training week this week. Next week he's got like an easy week, and then finish off with a hard week, bit of a taper.
Well, he's one of the best men I know. He's such a legend. Javi, go crush him, mate. We need it.
He is so good. So talented.
Mate, I have trained and raced with the guy forever, and I honestly, the ability of the man is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'll never forget doing a long run with him on a Sunday morning. I think there was Matthias Hecht and a few of us, and I was pretty fit at the time. I think I was running my 2-hour long run around, that 335 to 340K pace, and I would run 32K or 20 miles. And Javier hadn't been doing that much training and he joined me for 20K or whatever and then added another 5K on his own. And then we went to the pool and I was just doing a loosen off, whatever, 1 or 2K swim, And we were standing on pool deck, myself, Laura, Matthias, a couple of others, and Javier's like, I might just do a 1500. I'm like, okay, we'll wait, and we started just watching his feet, getting a clock on every time he flipped. I'm like, oh, he's just holding 105s, 106s on a leisurely 1500. I'm like, oh my God, he swims like a 1630 for just a quick little loosen up 1500 and then pops out. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, he's not this well, but no, he's hopefully gonna come back and have a good year this year. It's going to be a good summer here in New Zealand. Javi gets here just after Mossel Bay. He's going to race the 70.3 here.
Oh, cool.
And then Chelsea's coming as well.
So fun. Yeah.
She'll be coming in the early Jan time.
And you said you're coaching Aaron Royal as well?
Yeah, Aaron's actually just arrived in Australia, so he just messaged me literally. A message popped up as I was on the call to you from him, and he's just got to Aussie.
Well, his missus just got knighted or what or something.
She's MBE, amazing, eh?
Royal. So
I'm going to make a point to catch up with Aaron. Yeah, sure, when we're here.
And what about whatever happened to Terenzo Bozzone? You were working with him, and then he just disappeared.
Yeah, Terenzo. I mean, I still see Terenzo a lot.
I love the guy. Where'd he go?
You should try and get him on the show.
Oh, it's been a long time. I had him on the show. I've had him on the show back in 2020, but it's been a long time. I don't know.
I mean, he just. I mean, the COVID situation being locked down, and he couldn't race anymore, and
it just shut his career down. Yeah, COVID almost got rid of a whole generation in one go. It was like, okay. Yeah. People like Jan hung on for a little bit to still show he's got it, but Jan Frodeno. But well, mate, this has been awesome. A couple more questions real quick before you go. Just opinion pieces. Nice and Kona being on separate days, separate events, men and women. What are your whole thoughts on this?
So I really think the women should have a separate day. I think having men and women racing on the same course at the same time is a total mess. Like the men ruin the women catching the back end of the male pros, and it's just like the women don't get as a result they don't get the publicity that they need. It's still mainly men focused on the race day, the coverage. So I do think the women should have a separate race, but I would like to see them have a separate day, just like the PTO. They have a separate, but it's at the same place.
Yes,
that's what
I agree.
That's what I would like to see personally. So that everyone's in Kona, but it's on separate days. I know that's an impossible feat, but if you
I agree. I think what we had last year with Chelsea winning the day before, 2 days before, whatever it was, I think was perfect. And then the men, I'd even be prepared to say, look, Kona will come every second year, but we want to bring everybody every second year. And then Nice, I'm happy to do Nice. I think it's a bit of an iconic place as well. So
I think that's good too, but I just don't think it's right to have it all mixed into one.
No. I don't like the mixing either. I don't like the mixing, but I certainly want all men and women to be together in the sense of the sport and the community. For sure. It's how I met my wife. Men and women.
Yeah, exactly. you still be single and alone.
Oh, mate. And okay, here's one for you. Who do you think is the greatest all-time triathlete, male and female? You got one? I have Simon Lessing coming on the show on Monday, by the way, and I put him up in that top little echelon of a conversation.
I do like him, but I was always more of a Spencer Smith fan, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it's funny, because me and my brother, we grew up in England at that time, right, doing triathlons, and he was always a Lessing fan, and I was always more of a bit of a
classic
fan, but I'm just a big fan of Jan Frodeno generally. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, you know why? Because he's so professional. He is.
There's something about him. He's just the man.
Well, he knows how to speak. He's smart. He knows how to speak. He knows what to say. He can swim, he can bike, and he can run. He can do all three. He looks amazing. I mean, he's a 6'4", good-looking guy. It's like that doesn't hurt. And then you look at he had a target on his back for a better part of a decade, and he defended it.
Yeah, so I struggle to go past that.
Yeah.
And then the women's side, I can't. I mean, Daniela obviously springs to mind.
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
She's one more, but she's not. She's just not done anything in that short course space, right?
Well, that race she won in the WTS she won in Seoul, Korea. Was it Seoul?
Right.
Yeah, Seoul. Was one of the most outstanding and best stacked women's field, and she won that in front of. You look at that result. That was. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. She didn't get an Olympic gold, and she didn't win a world championship in the short. But that, if you want to look at her short course ability, it was still phenomenal. Yeah,
it's still phenomenal. Yeah.
But
that's to me is more of a tricky one, really.
Yeah.
I mean, but everyone talks about the greatest of all time in the men, and it's not so much. It's always like, is it Christian? Is it Jan? Is it?
Oh, it's not Christian. Please, I'll put that out there right now. Look, I like Christian, but we're not doing that. He doesn't go in my top 5 yet. I'm sorry.
Oh, really?
No.
I mean, Javier.
You got to put Javi in there. Alistair Brownlee, Mark Allen. I'd put Simon Lessing in front of Christian still.
Really?
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, Javier's won all. I mean, he's won more world titles than all of them. I think.
Well, listen to what Lessing's won. I'm doing notes on him right now because he's coming on the show on Monday. So he won the 92, 95, 96, 98 World Championships. He's run a sub 29 on the track before fast shoes, by the way. I think he won Nice long course a bunch of times. The French Grand Prix, he just crushed forever. Nobody could come close to him. And he's taking on guys like Spencer Smith, Brad Bevan, Welshie, all of those. He won all the super sprint stuff like in Koblenz. I think he did win an Ironman. He touched on Ironman late in his career. I think he won Lake Placid or something.
He won Lake Placid, I think. Yeah. I think he won Lake Placid,
I remember having to race this guy bloody throughout the 90s and early noughties. I'm telling you, pure dominance. And then
he is a man.
Yeah.
I remember I was at in 1998. I was at Lausanne, the race where he won, and I just remember. I mean, I was just like, "Whoa!"
The guy was untouchable. The guy was untouchable.
I always remember. You remember because obviously he was around when racing went from drafting to from non-drafting to drafting. And I remember an interview with him, and like Spencer Smith was like, "Oh, this has ruined the sport. It's terrible." And Simon just goes, "Well," he goes, "I can win races either drafting or non-drafting."
And he did.
I don't care.
and he did.
Because he was phenomenally strong on the bike. Yeah, when I was a junior, he came on a training camp with us. And he in Cyprus, and he used to just right off the front and crush us all.
he was a phenomenal. I remember going, he's the guy I have to beat. And finally, I started beating him. And probably once he just was tired of winning, to be honest, more than me beating him. I always feel like there's this crossover section where it's like, the champ's just probably done. But mate, he was the guy.
He should have won more world titles because that world title we lost in Montreal.
He should have won 2000 Olympics. Honestly, whatever he did there, he screwed that up big time.
Yeah, but when Dimitri Gag beat him in Montreal, right?
That wasn't a clean one. Yeah, so he gets that one as well. So that's 5 world titles. I put him and Javier are very similar. Javier's won more races than any of the top 4 people combined. The guy has won more races than you could ever imagine. Javier is probably slightly ahead of Simon Lessing in my mind. Alistair's phenomenal for the aggressiveness of the racing, and 2 Olympic golds with all the pressure that goes with it is just unbelievable. Mark Allen, because he did everything. But Christian, I just, he's probably moved into my top 10, which is nice, but no, please.
There you go.
Am I causing a stir by saying that? No, surely not.
No, I don't think so. Not to me, at least.
I got to let you go, buddy. Mate, I do have a whole millions of other questions and rapid fires and everything, but I do want to be, Kate is sitting there with the car keys in hand going, hey.
I heard the front door go. Maybe she's just walked out.
Well, mate, I thoroughly enjoy our chats. The next time I have you on, let's dig back into the science of things. But this one was more just, I really wanted to have you on and just celebrate, your year and everything you do for the sport. It's not just about you. EndureIQ is a great platform. I get all the emails. You're always sharing ideas and, it really, you're doing fantastic work for the whole sport, and truly appreciate you, mate. I really enjoy our chats.
Thanks very much, Rick. And it's always same goes to you. Doing these podcasts is awesome for the sport and putting the information out there and giving someone some great content. So
yeah. Well, mate, we've got to get our families together one of these days. I think we'll go back to Noosa next year.
We're just depending on you, Ed.
Yeah, Ed, mate, I'm glad we got to put that in minute 4. People are still listening at minute 4.
Just a bit in the back end. Exactly.
No, nobody hears anything now. There's only a few people left going, oh, God, they're still rabbiting on. All right.
Cool. All right, man.
All right, buddy. Yeah, stay on the line. And everybody fight. You can find all the details at bennettendurance.com/media. All right, stay on the line, buddy. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.